Welcome to the Leaderish Podcast with your hosts, Regina and Doris. Hey, Doris, how's it going?
Hey, Regina, it is wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing good. Lots going on. There's a lot of noise and a lot of priorities and a lot of things that are urgent and important, both in my family and my work, which is why I am so excited for us to have our conversation today about weeding out the noise.
I think we can give you some strategies along with our listeners and, of course, me on how to weed out some of that noise because I know that it's something that we all struggle with, especially as women. We struggle with so many different kinds of noise, digital noise. How often do you look at your phone every day? There are so many different studies on the amount of time you pick up the phone and for no reason at all. How many times have you been in a meeting where everyone has said, okay, silence your phones, and someone doesn't silence their phone, and then it winds up being a distraction for everybody in the room? And then, of
All
course,
the time.
I know, there's mental noise, all the stuff that just churns inside our heads. I know that before we hit record, we talked about a movie that we both enjoy, What Women Want, Mel Gibson's What Women Want. It's an older movie, but he can hear all the noise and chatter that are in women's heads. And there is a lot that we're going to talk about today. There's people noise, decision fatigue, meeting overload, emotional noise, task switching, and multitasking. Did you know that there's really no such thing as multitasking?
Yes.
We think we're multitasking, but we're not. We're really just moving from one task to the other, probably not doing either one of those tasks very well.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, cultural and societal expectations. That's a lot of noise, too. A lot of what we see on social media can be really, really noisy.
Okay, so I thought that I was overwhelmed with the noise, but now that I think about all of these different types of noises that I hadn't even considered, holy cow, how do I get anything done?
I'm sorry for having to list all those. It is a lot, but I think there are some things that we can do to quiet that noise down.
Yeah, I mentioned there's a lot going on. There's the urgent, there's the important. You are so right. Like for me, there's familial obligations. I know you have many of those as well. There's that double burden of caretaking and performing for my job. Also, there's just a lot going on right now. The kids are in sports. I'm working on some really cool projects. There are hardwood floors that need to be redone in my house because we had a water leak, and there's a roof that needs to be replaced because our roof is leaking. There are so many different things, not to mention the hormonal challenges that I'm having. All of these different unique challenges are coming at me, and they're coming pretty fast, and they're coming pretty furious. And you went through some of those different noises that we have. And now I think I'm even overwhelmed because there were noises that I didn't realize that I had that now it is coming into my awareness and my consciousness that, oh my gosh, yeah, digital noise, that is a problem for me.
Mhm.
It keeps me from getting things done. It takes me a long time to switch back to the task that I was working on because I don't multitask. And that task switching, I think they say it's 20, 30 minutes to get back on
Yep,
track.
I've heard that number. Yep.
Yeah, now I'm like even a little bit more overwhelmed now that we've gone through all of these different noises. So, how do we figure out what disrupts us the most?
Yes. So the first thing, Regina, just take a very deep breath because it's going to be okay. We can slow down and we can refocus. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Actually, let's backtrack. Let's identify our biggest noises because I think that's one thing we need to do is we're each a little different. I listed off a lot of things that make
Mm-hmm.
noise in our own heads and around us. There's literal noise and figurative noise. So the first thing we want to do is really understand what is the most distracting to us as individuals. You listed a lot of things. You've got a lot of things going on in your home as well as trying to build a business. If you are thinking about just your business, are you able to get rid of all that other stuff?
Yes. Unequivocally, yes. I do have the capability to tune out all of the other stuff during my workday in order to accomplish the things that I need to accomplish for my work.
Okay, the first thing we want to do is celebrate that. And I want to ask you, how do you do that? How are you able to tune out that noise?
Oh, that's a really good question, Doris. I think for me, there are a lot of important things, but during my workday, I prioritize the importance of my clients and my work and what I need to accomplish. But I think I'll also do some prioritization in that area too. And I sort out very well what is urgent and what is important. I think a lot of times we go for the urgent because they're usually smaller, check the box things, and they give us a little bit of endorphin hit. I try not to go for the urgent things if they're not important, and I try to push aside things that aren't important.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the Eisenhower Matrix.
I am. I taught a class on the Eisenhower Matrix for years. It's my very favorite thing.
It's a good matrix. And for anyone that's not familiar with it, imagine, and we'll put a link in the show notes to a visual of the Eisenhower Matrix, but imagine a box with four sections in it. So the upper left hand is important and urgent. The bottom left hand is not important and urgent. The upper right hand is not urgent, but important. And the bottom right is not urgent and not important. And so if we can put our tasks into each one of those boxes. Now, my question for you, Regina, is this something that you do every day? Do you think about the Eisenhower Matrix as you start your day, or is this something that you perhaps do more when you are at the beginning of the week, beginning of the month? So you try to prioritize everything to get what you need done in a certain time frame, or do you literally look at it every single morning and put all of your tasks in one of the four boxes?
That is a very interesting question because there is a me of 5 years ago and a me of today. 5 years ago, I would list everything out. And I'm still a lister, but I would list it out and mark what was important, what was urgent, what was do not do, what was put off. Then what happened is I became so adept at that now on my list, I don't actually have to go through that exercise. I do it naturally and I prioritize my list naturally based on urgent and important without marking it down and specifically saying this is a do now, this is a do later, this is a don't do.
That's really interesting. I'm not sure that everyone is that adept. That's probably something that you learned. You said 5 years
It's
ago versus
practice.
today. So it's practice.
Yes.
How did you move forward to make it something that was so natural?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I first started this, I actually kept my list in an Excel spreadsheet. And I would choose if it was urgent or important. So, urgent, yes or no, important, yes or no. And then the Excel spreadsheet would actually tell me what to do. So, if it was two no's, it would tell me don't do. If it was two yeses, then it would say do now. And so I had to leverage technology. It was so simple, but I still had to leverage the technology in order to figure this out. I had to ask myself the two questions with every single task. Is this urgent? Yes or no? Is this important? Yes or no? By doing that and doing that often, regularly and for a period of time, it actually taught my brain how to do it on its own. And so now I can just look at my list and I might write it down and then realize, oh, that's neither urgent nor important. That's a don't do. I'm getting rid of that.
That's really interesting. I'm not sure I'm there yet. For me, what I do, I write everything down too. I'm a list maker. I
Yeah.
write everything down, but one of the things that I try to do is label it on the piece of paper. So I have never used Excel for a to-do list. I still the old-fashioned paper, write it down in a planner that I have and try to label it or put a little star by it. Like this day cannot end without this particular task getting done. And
Oh,
I
so that's a
know
yes, yes. That's urgent and important.
that's a yes,
They get a
yes.
star.
They get
I
a
love
star.
that. Okay.
They get a star. I know Franklin Covey does something very similar where you label it as A, B, C, one, two, three, and you
Yep.
can label it that way. But if you have your task list, then start labeling, start identifying which are the maybe the most 3 to 4 important things that you can't let this day end until these 3 or 4 things are done.
Yep.
And the other important thing is that you don't need to put it in a time box. If it doesn't get done until 9 o'clock tonight, it's okay. You can still celebrate that you got it done. Don't feel like you have to get it done between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., depending on what it is, but get done what you have to in the time frame that you have because all hours are equally important in your day.
Absolutely. But that does bring up a point. So you have this list, you have your stars or your A, B's, and C's and your one, twos, and threes, or you have your important, urgent, whatever. However, you choose to label this to help you prioritize. There is a skill that helps many people called time boxing, or I think you've done some research on this a little bit more, and I think it's the Pomodoro effect, and we've talked about it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. The Pomodoro effect is really bringing in focus. So there's two slightly different things. One is it's a great idea to try to look at your calendar every week and have something in every hour of the day, even if it's a focus time. So you don't necessarily have to have your week completely filled with meetings, but if you know that you need to get, let's say, these 3 important things done, and each one of those things is going to take 1 hour, then set aside 3 hours in your day and put it in your calendar as focus time. So maybe it's, let's say, paying bills, and you know that paying bills is going to take you 1 hour. Put it in your calendar at whatever time makes sense for you that you're going to pay bills. And where the Pomodoro technique comes into play, the Pomodoro technique is a timer. You can use a kitchen timer, you can use the timer on your phone. There are apps available that use the Pomodoro technique. And what it is, it's 25 minutes of solid focus. You set your timer for 25 minutes and you don't let anything distract you. You don't let the phone calls come in. You don't let people bother you. Basically, you're putting on a literal or virtual do not disturb sign on your office door, and you're going to focus on whatever task it is for 25 minutes. And then you get a 5 minute break. And if you need to do it again, another 25 minutes and another 5 minute break. However many times you need to do that Pomodoro technique or have that 25 minutes of focus, you will be amazed at how much you can get done. When I've done it before, the timer has scared me because I was so focused in what it was I was doing that the timer almost startled me. No, it did startle me because I was so focused. But you have to have that. It's still a mindset. You
Yeah.
can't sit there and look at the timer and say, "Oh gosh, I've got 15 minutes left. I've got 10 minutes." No, set it aside. Let it ring when it's going to ring, but really focus on whatever it is you need to get done. And I find that's especially helpful if I'm trying to write something, if I'm trying to write my weekly blog. I find that setting that timer and focusing those 25 minutes. And quite often, I will skip the 5 minute break and just do another 25 minutes, and I'll take the break after that.
So you have a longer ability to focus. I think 25 minutes would probably work really well for me. And I think when the timer goes off and it scares you, I think that is an indicator that you were in a state of flow.
Yes.
They say, and I've experienced flow, I think you've experienced flow, but a lot of folks have done research on flow. Daniel Goleman's one of them. He's the emotional intelligence guy. Angela Duckworth's done a lot of research on flow. She's the one that wrote Grit. And I think what happens with flow is that our brains get so focused on the task or action that we are currently in that everything else is automatically weeded out.
Yes.
And I can say that I've been in flow. I've received text messages and not realized it, or even phone calls. I don't know how that
Mhm.
happened, that my brain did not shake out of flow from the vibrating of my phone, but I've completely missed it. Flow is a real thing. And by setting that 25-minute timer, I think what that does is it forces you into deep flow and also tricks your brain to know, hey, this doesn't have to be forever. I just need you to go deep for 25 minutes.
Absolutely. Yes. And I love that point. This isn't forever. This is 25 minutes.
I can
And
do anything for 25 minutes, Doris,
yes, you can.
even work out.
Sometimes I think I'm in my deepest flow when I'm working out.
Interesting. So you do really good mind work when you're working out.
That depends. What's really funny is so I love doing yoga, and this is where the mind chatter. I'm pretty focused while I'm doing the yoga practice until I get to Shavasana, which is that last 2 to
My
3, 4
favorite
minutes.
part.
But that is when I find myself, okay, what's the grocery list? What do I need to buy at the grocery store? What am I going to do for dinner? All right, what's the first thing I need to do on my list? And I forget that Shavasana is supposed to still be that you need to stay present in Shavasana and not focus on all those things you were supposed to leave at the door when you walked
Hmm.
into the studio or your home studio, and allowing that 30 minutes or 45 minutes, just be present. And that's part of that Pomodoro effect and that flow is be present in what it is you're trying to do.
Do you think that when you're laying in Shavasana and you've got all of these thoughts that are racing through your head, do you feel like that might be a sign of chronic overwhelm? Always
It,
having so much more to do?
it could be. It could be. Or it could be, all right, I just gave these, let's say it's a 30-minute yoga practice. I just gave these 25 minutes to being present. All right, now I get to think about all the chatter that's in my head.
Ah, okay. Okay. I do know that for some, one of the common signs that they're dealing with too much noise is that feeling of chronic overwhelm, that they're constantly behind, that they can never catch up, that they're working so hard, but they just can't ever seem to get to the finish line. I think my husband lives in this state where there's always one more thing. In fact, that's what we call him, one more thing, because there's always one more thing. We'll be leaving to go out for dinner, and he'll decide that he needs to do a load of laundry. All right, one more thing. Come on, we'll do it when we get back. I just need to get it started. I need to get it started. Chronic overwhelm, always one more thing. So I think that's another common sign. And that's where that Eisenhower matrix can also come in. What's urgent and what's important. Yes, getting the load of laundry done is important, but it's not urgent. It's not a right now thing. If it waits an hour, it waits an hour and it's still going to be there.
Yeah.
You just need to make sure you get it done today. To your point, it's okay if it gets done at 9 p.m.
Yeah, you can throw in that load of laundry at 9 p.m. and worry about drying it tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah.
Another thing that I think can happen from overwhelm is we think we're going to forget a task. So I think what is happening maybe in your husband's brain is I need to put the load of laundry in right now because if I don't, I'm going to forget to do it when I come home. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things to overcome that is just to write it down.
Yeah.
If you write things down, even if it's something that needs to, maybe it doesn't even need to happen today. In our house, we have a chalkboard where the grocery list lives. And as soon as we see that something needs to be purchased, okay, we're almost out of milk. We need to write that down. We don't want to write it down when we are completely out, when we're out of coffee, we're out of milk. You don't want to write it down then. You want to write it down before that. But if I don't write it down, I will forget. And I'll get to the grocery store and not get that milk because it wasn't written down on the list. So I think that's really helpful too, is just get it out of our brains, put it on a piece of paper, and then figure out in that Eisenhower matrix where it belongs and when it belongs and get it
Mm.
done at that point in time. But
Yeah,
in the meantime, get it out of your head.
I love that where it belongs and when it belongs. Just because I have a grocery list doesn't mean I have to go to the grocery right now because there is a chance that there is something else to eat in this house.
A
We are
really
not
good
food
chance.
insecure, right?
Mm-mm.
Now, there are some families that are very food insecure, and if they don't go buy it now, they have nothing to eat. That is not the case in my house. And I don't have to go to the grocery store right now, but we do also have a list, and my kids contribute to it as well.
Do they put nutritious stuff on that list?
Sometimes when the milk runs out, they do put milk on it, or when it's close, they will put the milk on it and stuff like that. And they put things like yogurt, but they also put things like chips, which I don't
Mm-hmm.
always buy. So every now and then I'll sneak a little something from their list on, but they usually only will add one or two personal things onto the list, but they keep it up for us just as well as we do. Somebody eats the last carrot, put carrots on the list.
It's a great idea.
Yep.
That's what you need to do.
Yep.
Absolutely.
What are some of the other common signs that we're dealing with too much noise? Oh, I have one. And this one does impact me. I know that there's too much noise when I start procrastinating.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I do have a little bit of procrastination in me anyway. Some people have a lot of procrastination, it's just part of their personality. I have a little bit of it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a huge procrastinator. I'm like somewhere mid. I'm a mid procrastinator, as the kids would say. I think I use that. I don't know. But when I have too much noise in my brain, then I tend to avoid the important things that I need to get done. And instead, what I do is I do those tasks that give me that little endorphin boost, those quick, easy tasks, and I procrastinate from the truly important work.
Yeah, I'm going to put myself at maybe a slightly worse level as far as procrastination. I tend to put things off. It'll sit on a list, and I need to do better at labeling that as it needs to get done today rather than waiting 5 minutes before it needs to get done. And I
Mm,
don't always do that, but I have in the past, if I'm giving a speech or a presentation, there have been times in the past where I maybe didn't pull an all-nighter, but I waited until that last evening and worked way too late. Now, it turned out great. Sometimes working under stress can be helpful for some people,
true.
but you are a lot more calm if you can get it done before it needs to get done. I have to ask you though a funny question
Yeah.
because I do this. Do you ever write something that you've already done on your list just so you can check it off?
We have talked about this. You know the answer because we have talked about this so many times. The answer is an unequivocal, I don't even know if I said it right, but it's a big old yes. Big
Mm-hmm.
old yes.
And I think that's where those endorphins kick in. We feel so
Hmm.
good, and it goes to celebrating. And I do want to talk about that for a minute. When we struggle to get things done, but let's say we've done the good job, we've put it in that urgent and important, we've labeled it an A, we put a star by it, and we've actually gotten it done. We need to take time at the end of the day and celebrate that. I'm a big believer in two different practices, a celebration practice and a gratitude practice. The gratitude practice is just some things that you're grateful for, some things that have happened in your life that you are thankful for. The celebration practice is more about what you accomplished and being proud of yourself for having accomplished that. So celebrate, even if it's just a little thing, even if it's okay when your kid ate the last carrot and they put carrot on the list, celebrate that. Say, thank you. Thank you for putting the carrots on the list.
Also, though, we need to be able to celebrate ourself through internal validation. I'll share with you. I've been working on a presentation for an organization and I've been just working on it. I was up working on it last night at 9 p.m. because I had taken a break, which is how I kind of work your Pomodoro, right? And I was like, okay, I'm going to come back to it, look at it, see what I need to change. And I got it to a really great place last night. Like, I am super proud of this. And I was able to just take a moment and internally validate and say, wow, Regina, this looks good. You did a really good job on this. I am sure that my client is going to love this and it's going to be exactly what they need. And if not, that's okay. I can do some tweaks. I got no problem with that. I love doing tweaks and taking that feedback, but it is a really good, solid start. And I was able to give myself that internal validation. Also, nobody else is seeing this yet. There's nobody around me that is, hey, good work, because I'm working on this and then I'll share it with her and she'll share it with her leader. I don't know. Doris, I think I'm just proud of myself for being able to be proud of myself. Wow.
I love that. And absolutely, we need to do that. I think, especially as women, we have a tendency to think it's not good enough. Whatever we did is not good enough. And to be able to step back and say, no, this is really good. And I'm proud of you as well. I'm proud that you were proud of yourself. And I think that's
Oh,
important.
thank
I
you.
think our listeners need to do that too. They need to step back and say, I did this. I did this and be happy that you did it. Be
Yeah.
proud of yourself. Celebrate and maybe
Yeah.
celebrate with a little bit of a break, a walk around the neighborhood. Maybe it is a special treat, a little piece of chocolate. It could be anything, however you want to celebrate yourself.
Do you want to know what my celebration was and what I'm
Yes.
totally okay with? It was
Yes.
brushing my teeth. I love brushing my teeth. And that was my celebration. And that was okay. Brushing my teeth, still thinking about how great it came along and how good it looks. And I can't wait to share it. Brushing, brushing, brushing. To each their own, right? Have a chocolate or brush your
Absolutely.
teeth. I can tell you which
Absolutely.
one's healthier. Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, so we've talked about some of the signs. Well, first of all, we started off with here are all the different types of noises. We've talked about some of the signs. You've helped me really understand some of the signs that I'm overwhelmed. And it's a good time to talk about that since I'm in that place of too much noise. We've also talked about some of those strategies. I love the Pomodoro technique. I didn't realize I was doing that. I love getting into flow. Sometimes I have a hard time. The Pomodoro technique might actually help me get into flow a little bit easier. So I love that you shared that with me. What were some of your takeaways from today?
Before we get to that, what we didn't talk about
Oh,
is some of the external noise.
oh, that's true. We didn't talk
The
about that.
literal external noise of
Yeah,
maybe TV or other people around us
yeah.
or just noise from the outside and how to overcome that because I think we're all a little different in how we manage that. So
Mm-hmm.
for example, my husband loves having the TV on and
Yep.
he can tune it out. I can't tune it out other than sports. I can tune out sports, but I can't tune out if there is a show on and there's a story being told, even if it's a 30-second commercial, if there is a story being told on the television, I have to listen to it. I have to watch it. I can't
Mm-hmm.
tune it out. Same with music. If I can't listen to music with lyrics, because I will find myself singing along or listening to the lyrics, I either need complete silence or I need some type of meditative music that has no lyrics, no words to it.
Yeah. When I worked in offices, I would put my headphones in and I would listen to a Pandora playlist of Cirque du Soleil music. Because even
Ooh.
sometimes if it has words, they don't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
They're more sounds. For probably 2 years when I worked in a cubicle environment, and I had a friend that recommended this to me, we both would listen to Cirque du Soleil music and the playlist of Cirque du Soleil music on Pandora. And that was very helpful for me. But you're right, same thing for me. I can't have on the TV or music. I do not listen to music in my home office. I do not turn the TV on. In fact, our TV would not come on unless my kids or my husband turned it on. If it's off, the first thing my husband does when he comes in is he turns on the TV, not to watch it, but because he likes the noise.
Yeah, my husband is the exact same way.
For me, I'd rather not have the noise. Honestly, the noise, sometimes the noise drives me nuts. There will be times where he's on his phone watching a video and the TV's on, and I'm like, no, you choose one. I can't do it because I'm actually listening and hearing both of them. He's only listening to the one that he is focused on. He's
Mm-hmm.
weeded out the other one. I don't have that ability to do that. So that noise is really, that literal noise is very impactful for us. And so you and I both talked about listening to meditative or non-lyrical music. Some people may need to wear headphones in the office. I think we talked about this a lot in our last episode
Mm-hmm.
around neurodiversity and respecting how people need to weed out the literal noise and to consider the ability that they have to weed out or not to weed out the noise and what they need to do to get work done.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. We did talk about that very specifically. And as leaders, knowing how our team members need to weed out that noise and what helps them focus. So, how do we get them in that flow? And it's different for every single person. So, again, ask. You need to
Yeah.
talk to your team, ask what is the best thing that they need to get them into flow so that they're able to focus on the work that is urgent and important and needs to get done today.
And I think the fine point here to this is allowing others to weed out the noise in the way that works for them. That is what is most important. Just because it works for me doesn't mean that it works for my husband. Just because it works for my husband doesn't mean that it works for my coworkers.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We're all a little different. I
Yeah,
think we
thank
did
you.
cover, yeah, we covered so much. I think it's hard to for me to even pick one of the most important things because I think we talked about just managing literal noise, managing figurative noise,
Yeah.
and I think we've provided some really good techniques, especially that Pomodoro technique.
Yeah. And leveraging the Eisenhower Matrix to figure out
Mm-hmm.
where you leverage the Pomodoro Technique. Oh, wow,
Yes.
I just put that together. Leverage the Eisenhower Matrix to figure out what's urgent and important or what you need to do now, and then leverage the Pomodoro Technique to actually get it done. Those two
And
things together are like magic.
yeah, and I'll add a third thing and put it on your calendar at a time that you can get that done.
Yes. Oh, it's like three steps of magic. So figure out what's urgent and important, or
Mm-hmm.
figure out what needs to get done, put it on your calendar so that you have the time blocked for it, and then leverage the Pomodoro technique to actually get it done. Boom, boom, boom. Bang.
Yes, we've just solved all the world's problems.
I know. I love it. Wow. That was absolutely fabulous. And I hope that you picked up a nugget as you were listening to Doris coach me through my overwhelm and our conversation on different techniques and things that we have done and tried in the past and things that work well for us. I know that I found this to be an amazing episode just for me personally. So thank you for being here with us and listening in as Doris walked me through how to get through my own personal overwhelm at this moment. And we would love to talk to you. All of our links can be found in the show notes. We'd love for you to continue to follow us on this journey and to invite a friend to follow us on this journey. If you know someone who is suffering from overwhelm at this moment, there is too much noise in their world, share this episode with them. What a gift to share this and give them some new tools and techniques to weed out their own noise. Also, we'd love a review. So if you would take a moment to leave us a 5-star review and a comment, we would be forever grateful. And if you're interested on being a guest, reach out. We'd love to talk to you about that too. All right, Doris, I'm going to end us with a bubble water cheers.
Cheers.